This was the listing for a 2002 zinc yellow Mustang GT that the owner really wanted to go get. He worked for several years to save up for this car, and it was a 2002 zinc yellow 5-speed black leather interior car, and he went to go get the car and he was really excited. This is the walk around video of when he picked up the car of a nice startup in idle. So here's a little bit of a walk around video. This just shows about how nice the car was. It had about 150,000 miles on it, but the paint was in really good shape. And here's a little bit of video from when they were driving the car home together with his friends. This is following him home in the car. So he got the car back to southern Utah. It's actually the same city I live in. And so I had heard that this new Mustang was in town, and I talked to some friends about the car. My other friend had actually sold him some Mustang parts, and he showed me a picture of the car, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, because there were a few zinc yellow GTs in town, and this was not one of the ones I was familiar with. And then I had another guy ask me if I was at the car meet, and I said no, and he had confused my yellow Mach 1 for this GT. So it was cool to see pictures of his car in the same town where I am. So it's pretty cool to see his GT driving around the same town I'm in. And the next video of his GT will be going underneath an overpass and around a roundabout and then back underneath. And that is a place I've been around. So I'll throw a little flashback of the bullet there right after the video of him going through there.
Keep it going, keep it going.
So yeah, it's pretty cool to see our cars in the same place. So I had reached out with my brother, and we invited him to join our Mustang car club here in town. It's just a local one on Facebook for the local people. And he didn't really get back to us, so we didn't really hang out, or he didn't come to any of the events that we invited him to, so that's fine. But he was driving the car around, enjoying it with some friends. You can see him out on the town underneath some more gas station lights here. And you can just see him and his friends really enjoying this car and having fun with it. A lot of really good memories were made in this car. So those are the last pictures and videos we saw of the car until this happened. Bam! Unfortunately, the car was totaled in an intersection. His side of the story was that a lady had run a red light and that he hit her as he was going through it. Regardless of what happened, who's at fault, the car was now totaled. So you can see how pretty twisted it was. I was really sad to see this. I love these cars, and here's another one in town. I didn't even get to see it in person yet. I was excited to see it at some car meet sometime, and before I got a chance, the car was totaled and being towed onto a trailer. So it was really sad to watch these videos and pictures on social media. Of course, to me, I think out of all these cars in town, why did it have to be the zinc yellow 5-speed Mustang GT? That's really too bad. There are a few more zinc yellow GTs in town, but man, this was a nice one. This was probably nicer than most of the other zinc yellow cars in town. There's another one I've done stories about that was across the street from me. I tried to buy a couple times, but anyway, it was just really sad to see it get towed onto a trailer and then see the car basically get totaled, and I basically knew the outcome of this one. It's pretty bad looking just from seeing the pictures. You can tell it's kind of twisted. Interior looked pretty nice, but it did deploy both the airbags, and so he had towed the car home and he put it underneath the carport and he started tearing into it, and everyone was giving him some encouragement, but basically people were like, no, that one's pretty twisted. You're probably not going to fix that one very cheap. I saw the series of supportive comments coming in like, come on bro, you can do this, you build it back stronger than ever, you know, typical stuff that you see. And I was hoping that he would work on it, and he did. He got tools and he tried tearing it apart and buying Mustang parts and trying to get it put back together. And before we continue with this story, I kind of want to get sidetracked for a second here and talk about another zinc yellow GT that I really liked a long time ago. This car was on Modded Mustangs, and I really liked this car, and the guy had it for sale for a long time. He was back and forth deciding if he was going to keep it or not, and I highly considered buying this car. I really thought it was a good looking car. I love zinc yellow, I love GTs, and so here's one that got totaled, and it was really sad when this one went. And I've saved these pictures all these years because I thought about doing a story about it, but I didn't really have enough to do a full story about it, so I just want to interject that in this story of another zinc yellow Mustang GT that was totaled, and have some of the memory of this car. And I guess since we're going on a zinc yellow Mustang GT tangent, I'll go on this one. I have a story about it. I'll link it in the end of the video if you'd like to watch it. This is another one that was in town. The owner lived right across the street from me, and I would see it every day, and I really liked it. I thought it was such a good looking car. I love zinc yellow, and this car was across the street from me, and I watched it, and it actually got in a little bit of an accident, and the back bumper got crunched in when the girl who owned it forgot to put it in gear and have the parking brake up, and it rolled down a street somewhere and it smacked into a Jeep or something. So you can see how it smashed up the back bumper, and I was afraid the car was going to be totaled at that point for that kind of damage. And so long story short, I really like this GT. It was across the street. Since then, I've owned two zinc yellow Mach 1s. I have one right now that I still own. And so I love these cars, and that's where my whole love and thought process and all this goes. It goes back to these cars that I've liked for so long, and this one did get fixed. The door got smashed in later and it got totaled, but it got fixed again. So you can kind of see where I'm coming from with how much I love these cars and what they mean to me, and seeing this now zinc yellow GT that's been wrecked here and being parted out started to bother me. The kid decided to give up on trying to fix it, and he decided to part it out. And I knew that was going to happen. It was one of those things that was just inevitable. And so I kept an eye on the car, and I thought about getting a couple parts for my zinc yellow Mach 1 off this car, but it turns out they weren't as nice anyway. But then I was looking through the Facebook classifieds as usual, and I saw the car like this with these pictures all parted out. And so the listing said, free Mustang, come get it. He wants to get rid of it now. And I had told him when he started parting it out, I said, sell me the whole car for a decent price, because before you start tearing things off of it, it'd be better if you just let me have it the way it was, and I'll see what I can do with it. He didn't want to do that, and so time passed on, and now he was giving the car away free. One of the things I told him was junkyards usually don't take the car if it doesn't have an engine in it, and he had sold the engine. And I told him, you're going to sell a couple parts off it, and then, you know, you'll still have most of it left, and it'll just be kind of a ruined car, so why part it out? And he just didn't care about that either, so that's fine. I let him be the way he wanted to be with it, and now he ended up giving the car away for free, and there really wasn't a whole lot missing off it. The biggest problem with this car is the damage, and now the problems he created by cutting all the wiring harnesses off and cutting the fuse boxes out and cutting off the door switches to get the door panels off. He really hacked a lot of it up. So at this point it was a free car besides the tow, and so I was able to get the car towed home. And unfortunately I went to 3 different U-Haul places. I went to the first place and they didn't have any car dollies there. I was just going to tow it home with a car dolly since the axle was still there. He had also cut the steering shaft to get the headers out of the car, so there was no steering. Even though it's all connected still, the steering shaft itself is cut in half, so I couldn't do a lot with it now because of that. So I was going to put it on a car dolly, roll the front wheels onto the car dolly, and tow it home with my Tahoe. Otherwise I would have rode inside it just like I did the other Mustangs I've gotten recently and used the parking brake and just towed it straight behind the Tahoe with a rope. But this time I couldn't do that, and so I went to the first place, of course, waited for 20 minutes while the lady was on the phone. And then when she finally got off the phone, she told us that she was talking to her doctor and that it was the better time for him to call. So that was wasting our time, which was really annoying. And I was just trying to ask where the next place I could go to get a car dolly was. And so she gave me a phone number for U-Haul and told me that the other one across town had one. So I drove all the way across town, got there. There were none there. I called the number she had given me. I knew there was one more U-Haul place in town, and I was just going to drive over there, but I went ahead and called the number, and the representative was really nice, and they helped me out, and they said that they could see the inventory everywhere and that they could tell me where to go. And I knew there was only one place left at this point, and sure enough, they said, yeah, that's the last place, go over there and get one. They reserved it for me. They gave me a confirmation number. They did it all through my email. They asked me a million questions. It was just really difficult to get it all set up. But since I had rented from them before, they had my information, and so they gave me a confirmation number. They told me there was one tow dolly left over at the other store, so I drove all the way over there. I saw the dolly sitting in the parking lot. I went inside, waited 20 minutes to talk to the guy because of the person in front of me. Finally, when it was my turn to talk to him, he was quite rude with me. He asked me what I wanted, and I told him I had a reservation, and he was like, for what? And I said, well, for a car dolly. And he said, I don't got none of those. I said, well, there's one outside. And he's like, well, that one's reserved. And I said, yeah, well, I just made a reservation with it. And he was like, when? And I was like, 10 minutes ago. They just told me that it was available. They did all this with me online. And he said, well, that one's going to Texas today. We don't have any more. They don't know what they're talking about. Their system's whack. So I was like, okay, well, you know, can I borrow it for like 30 minutes? I just need to take it across town real quick. And he got pretty rude about that too. He didn't like that idea. Said I'd probably crash the dolly and then the people who rented it wouldn't have it. And I said, yeah, but I rented it too. I have it reserved. But anyway, the nice thing was he did tell me of a towing company that does a really good job here in town that's really affordable, and it's almost the same price. It's about double the dolly. The dolly was like 40 to 50 bucks, and for 70 this guy took it on a flatbed to my house. So I'm very grateful for him. It was a really great towing company. They were very quick. And so the next problem was meeting the guy at his house, and I wanted to make sure that I could get there and make sure he was going to be there because I already hired the tow truck. And anyway, it finally worked out and I got the car home. So as you can see, it was a very long day, and to make things even longer, I had to go give him his wheels back. So part of the original agreement was that he gets to keep the bullet wheels. I had to bring my own wheels, and I said it would be a lot easier for me if I got the car home, put it on jack stands, and then brought you your wheels back, because I do have a set of SN95 Mustang GT wheels that you might have seen on the channel recently. I saved them because my friend was going to throw them away. They were really filthy and dirty, but I cleaned them up, and I wanted to have them on hand just for something like this, just to have on a car to roll around if I need to. The tires aren't good on them, but hey, they'll work, and so I was really excited about that. So now I had just completed that like a month ago or less, and now here I have a car ready to use those wheels. So I also needed to get the wheels back to him so I could get the title from him as well, because the car was actually in his mom's name, and she was going to come home on her lunch break and sign it over to me. And so that all had to work out as well. So I was kind of in a rush to get the wheels off, get him back in the Tahoe, get over to his place. And then he asked me if he could keep the exhaust tip on the passenger side there, because it's kind of flattened. He said it's sentimental value for him and his girlfriend, and he even offered to pay me for it, which was nice. I didn't make him pay me for it because he had just given me the whole car, but now I don't have a matching set of exhaust tips. But it's a MagnaFlow exhaust tip, and it was kind of flattened and smashed, so he wanted it, and that's fine. But it took me more than an hour to beat that thing off with liquid wrench, and I actually resulted in taking a grinder and having to slice it and cut it a little bit on the clamp to get it off, because every time you moved a few inches it would freeze up, and it had carbon and corrosion and stuff in it. It was just awful. But it took me an hour to get this thing off. So with that grinder and everything, I was finally able to get this thing off. It was a nightmare, but I did. I got it off and gave it to him, but it's smashed up anyway, so it's not really all that big of a deal. But anyway, this is the update for the O2 Zinc Yellow Mustang GT. The car is pretty bad with the wreck. We'll do a walk around video here of the car. I'll kind of determine what we're going to do with it. I'm not sure if this car is going to be able to be saved because of how bad the firewall damage is. So we'll look into it and we'll see what we end up doing with the car. But the reason I got it is because I like the car. It was free. I had to pay for the tow, and that was about it. So my time and effort to go get the car. And so I've always wanted to have a parts car just for any little thing I need, little pieces of hardware, CCRM or dashboard. There's lots of good parts still on it, so I'm happy to have it. And if anything, I will just enjoy the car for what it is and enjoy it being a nice car. I have a high level of respect for these cars. I love the videos of them being made in the Dearborn assembly plant. That was just such a really cool piece of history, and it takes so much to build a car like this. Over 2,000 spot welds and thousands of hours, and the raw materials and the awesome machinery and robots that all have to be configured, and the dies, and just there's so much really cool tooling and stuff involved in these cars, and so many parts to make it happen. And I just have a respect for these cars that most people might not understand. But I think about what it took to build a car like this and how easily they get thrown away just because they get hit in an accident. And even if this one I'm saving right now, doesn't ever drive again, at least I can still enjoy it for the art that it is. I love this car. I love the New Age Mustangs. I want to make it look a little presentable at least. But anyway, it's just something cool. I watch these videos of the Dearborn assembly plant. I've made videos about the last Mustang that went down Dearborn. So it's just kind of fun to enjoy the cars like this. And when you go get a car like this that's been wrecked, you can still enjoy all of the engineering and all the work that was involved in this car. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the rest of this project and for more Mustang content.